Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Virtual Sessions presented by the DJ Sessions. I'm your host Darren, and right now I'm in the virtual studios with Shash'U coming in from Montreal, Canada. Shash'U, let's click that camera on. I love that intro,
Hey.
man. Way to use that OBS virtual cam.
Yes. We are out here. How you doing, man?
Doing good. I'm doing good. I like the color theme you got going on there too. It's the DJ Sessions colors. Represent.
Yes.
Anyways, coming in from Montreal, Canada today, we have the honor of talking with Shash'U. Shash'U, you got your musical career started at a very, very early age. Can you tell us about your strongest motivation to pursue a career in music? What made you say, I want to do this for a living?
Um, I don't know. I don't know. I guess, I mean, music has always been part of my life and my family also. My dad was, he always played guitar at home, and my mom was very much in the arts also. So, I don't know. Just music has always been around and always affected me in a way that I felt like, involved in somehow. So, me growing up and being presented with different opportunities to be able to be creative in that angle, I just kind of always had a, had a more lean towards that direction. Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons why growing up, music always was present. Playing drums also in like, junior high, high school, and all that. So that was interesting too.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, 9 years old is pretty early to start
Yeah.
playing stuff. But I was going to ask, my follow up question was, did you come from a musical family? And sounds like you did, and
Yeah.
definitely had that influence on you. And you know, we're not that far apart in age. I'm a few years older than you are, but growing up in the '80s, did your did you get access to the equipment at the time, or was it mainly acoustic stuff? When did you start getting into the digital side of things? What age did that start at?
Um, that started maybe I was I'd say like 16, 17. Um, my dad had a computer. We had a computer at home in the family. Um, and Yeah, I think the first software I ever touched was like Hammerhead, and I remember one time my friend had lent me his CD. He gotten back in the days, or I don't know if it's still happening now, when you could buy a magazine and it came with like a CD of like demos and sharewares and stuff like that. And one had like a music software, it was like PC DJ or something like that, but it never worked on my computer. But I found Hammerhead, which is just a simple sequencer type of thing, very similar to like a step sequencer software on like Windows or something. And then I got into FL Studio. At that time, I was FL Studio 3. Actually, Fruity Loops 3. Yeah,
Fruity Loops 3, because that's when I started
yeah,
playing around with that. Was in like 2000.
yeah, yeah. 2000 later on. Yeah. So yeah, by that time I was like 18 when I got into FL. But touching stuff like so, even back then I was checking out like DJ softwares like EDJ or like EJ. I forgot the name of it, but it was they had these softwares where you can just like build cells of like rhythms and patterns. It was fun, but like you couldn't really be creative. And that's once you discover a file, it just goes. Or if you discover a DAW, like a real DAW, then
Yeah.
it's cool, you know.
We got unknown GRP in your chat room saying Fruity Loops 3 and
Yes.
throwing up exclamation points and year is it year I hope I'm saying this right. It looks like
Yearly,
year
yearly.
year oh, you know him?
Yes. What
Okay.
up? Yes.
Give a
Yearly in the
shout outs to
house.
your people in your chat room. That's all. So, do
Yes.
you consider yourself a hardware producer or a software producer or both?
Both.
Okay.
Very much both. Um, the reason why is mostly most of it is because I grew up in at a period where everything was hardware. Everything was a block or a module apart, and you had to plug them together to make something. You know, like the Nintendo or like any like old school consoles. Now everything is like cloud based gaming, and no more DVDs anymore, no more CDs. So it's very interesting. So I came from that era where if you wanted to have something done with like a machine, you had like to get that machine that would only do that thing, and then you would like complement it with other modules. And I find that a lot of the gear that we have today, still today, uh, it's an important component to be able to be hands on with a piece of gear, to be able to use it and make you feel like you're actually doing something. You know, you feel like you're not just clicking around. Clicking around is fun, but then to be able to move in a different way. You know, it's like driving a car that's standard and driving a car, with stick drive is not the same thing. You're using your feet differently too, so your weight shifts differently also. So I'm doing a lot of comparison, but you kind of get the idea where like for me, I always loved software because I was exposed to computers very young age. My dad worked in computers when I was really young, and so that always stuck to me. And I wasn't the lucky kids to have access to game consoles, so it was always my cousins, my older cousins, who had like the consoles. So like to see like a video game or to see something on a screen that's like far out with vivid colors and graphics and sound, crazy sounds and stuff like that, came kind of like at I didn't have access to it, but I always craved it, you know. So that kind of stayed with me also. And then when it came to music, then I kind of treat it in the same way. Like I look at sound modules as pieces of gear that can help me, or that can let me learn something more about myself. Essentially, that's what I try to do as much as possible. So I did do the route of getting an MPC, trying to understand why the MPC was the gear. You know, why the producers turned to the MPC whenever they wanted to do hip hop. I wanted to understand that, coming from like starting off from software, you know. So
And
uh,
what is your number one piece of go to gear that you're like, I gotta get this. I gotta play with this one. Put it into like, if you had one that you could pick and choose, if you had to get a favorite, what piece of gear would that be right now?
okay, so right now, which gear that don't have,
Oh, that you don't have? No, something that
that
you
I
do
don't
have.
have, or that okay, that I do
Yes,
have.
you haven't used. Yeah.
Okay, that I do have and use in my go-to lately. Okay, so there's two. It
Okay.
has been my the MC 101 by Roland. I've been using it a lot as a sound bank, like as a portable sound bank, as a sequencer, as sound module for like to flex different layers in my live performances. And the other gear, of course, I have to say is the DJ 808 by Roland again. It's really that for me. That's my MPC for like.
Hmm.
It's not just a DJ tool. Like I really use it also as a creative tool, basically. Yeah, just like
You
creative
know,
gear.
back in the day when I went to college, I actually owned an MC 505 and an SP 808,
Nice.
and they were just the coolest little boxes to
Yeah.
play with and MIDI sync together. You know, you had full sequencer over here, and then with, you know, the knobs and everything, and then you had a full sampler over here. They actually both took zip drive discs, which
Yeah,
were
that's
100
old school.
megabyte discs.
Yeah.
And it was like 100 megabytes on a disc. It was very rare and far and few between that you could actually burn. I mean, you could burn a CD, but they weren't taking CDs. But even burning a DVD at that time was very archaic. You could burn and save to a DVD if you had a DVD burner. And it was like in a
Yeah.
cartridge. it wasn't the disc itself yet until I think Apple started. I was an Apple guy at that time, starting all 22 years ago, and then they started putting the CD rewritable drives in the Apple computers, and then they started putting. And then you had the plus and minus, and you're like, which one do I
Yeah.
use for music? And should I play in the car stereo
Exactly.
or not? And then you had the DVD when the DVD burners came out because they made DVD Studio Pro, and you could start authoring.
Yeah.
You could start authoring your own DVDs. Um, and that was kind of cool, but still playing around with that. I still remember those as that MC505, the SP808, and I sat in Guitar Center for probably about, I think it was about 7 months. I just grabbed it. I'd go into Guitar Center, I'd grab the manual, they'd give it to me, I'd sit
Mm.
down, I'd just be playing with that and going through that manual page by page because it was like $1,200 or something like that. And then you had the SBA, you had them both right there. You could just play with them. I'd sit in there for a couple hours, just like, all right, cool. After college, I'd go in there and just play around, and then I ended up buying both of them. And I wish I had one of those. I was in an interview with somebody just recently, and I mentioned the 505, and they reach back behind him and they go, "Check this out. I got a 505 right here." And apparently the
Wow.
LED screen had gone out on it. It still works, but they got to get the LED screen fixed. But I was like,
Mm.
"Yep, I remember that little one. That was fun." And that was like at a
Yeah.
time in 2000, 2001 ish, that making music on a computer was still expensive, and production was still a production thing. You didn't have a lot of DJs at the time doing production like you do now. It's
Yeah.
almost synonymous that if you're a DJ, you can't just say, I'm a DJ and go out there. You might be able to do that at a local level, but if you want to play and get on the circuit and get out there in the world, you almost have to be releasing tracks nowadays in order to
Yeah.
do that. And
Yeah.
how have you seen that? It sounds like, were you an instrumentalist first? You were playing with instruments first and then got into DJing? Is that how the progression worked for you? Or was it kind of like both at the
Yeah.
same time,
So
like create music and then got into DJing, it sounds like?
yeah. So I got into. I was playing. Yeah. I got into playing drums. Started at the age of 9, and then um, touched different types of instruments, guitar, also keys, growing up. But yeah. But I'm just thinking of it. Remind me of something else. But what was the question again?
Oh, did it sounds like you started in production first and
Yeah.
then went into DJing. And
Yeah.
now that line, that distance has become a lot smaller between the line of DJ producer. So you see a lot of DJs now that are producing tracks,
Right.
to be relevant. You can't just go out and just be a DJ. Like if I want to say I'm a DJ, I'm Darren, feel like you and let's kick over a bucket and 25 DJs will roll out. But if I go, I'm a DJ producer and here's my track, then I can start putting that into Beatport and start, getting it to a label or starting my own label,
Right.
and getting out there in that realm as a producer, and maybe even
Yeah.
putting it out to, like somebody was telling me the other day, if you put your tracks to, you get a sync license, put it out there and people start using it for movies and stuff. And that's how you can make some money on the back end with your tracks, of that hidden gem of
Definitely.
knowing how to make money with your tracks. It isn't all about just
Right.
putting up the Spotify and Beatport and getting 0.00002 cents per play.
Yeah. It's a different. It's a different type of game. It's a different job almost. Like it's a different project also because like
Hmm.
making the music and then finding strategies and the marketing. It's a whole different thing. So it's good to inquire. It's good to be able to know the nuances from them and also to see what type of platforms or ideas that you can flex through them, but also to get help from outsource also is a good thing too. And but it's hard, when it has to do with art. uh it plays well. Also, it also plays with like people's heart. It plays with I spend so hard in working on this. I don't want to just throw it in anybody's hands. So some people have difficulty trusting, working with somebody else, and I feel like that's one of the hurdles when you start making music or we start being creative. Or like, how do you know that you put your things online and you sure that nobody's gonna steal it? Or, it happens to all of us in a certain degree, even to the days like back in the days of SoundClick, you know, just or just on the Neptune's forums, like that all that can happen. And for me, so to go back to your to go back to your question about like when did I start like producing, DJing, and for me DJing it started kind of in the same period that I got more into street dancing. About producing and kind of sketching ideas and using softwares and already have kind of a base of music, like music theory in a way, that came before DJing. So DJing came a little bit after, like around 2003,
Okay.
3 or 4. That is like got like a DJ kit, American Audio, CD 300 or CDI 300. I forgot which model, but yeah, that's the one.
Do you feel that DJs should learn more about music theory? Would that make them a better DJ overall?
I think they should learn everything that has to do with DJing. That where DJ exists, or the concept, or the idea of DJing, where it exists, all of its facets. I think you should, you know, if you want to become a better DJ, you should inquire. So it's not just musical theory and learning like you know, the notes and stuff. It's not just that, though. That's great, and to be able to like, if hey, if you get the skill and you're already able to like mix certain songs just because you know that you recognize the tones that are similar or complement each other, that's great. You know, that's through the experience and mixing different styles of music for sure. That that's how we expose ourselves to be presented with fine tuning our ears to sound in general. Yeah, trying different styles, trying being exposed to different venues, because where you can be in one room, things sounds a certain way. You can listen to the same thing into another room, and it sounds completely different. So that's why we say go out. You know, go out and visit the other places, and I think what that's one thing you could do.
Yeah,
You know.
absolutely. How much of a perfectionist are you?
Yeah, I kind of go in a rabbit hole of my ideas can go really deep and go through layers, but I usually do that because I want to keep things simple. I'm trying to find the thing that's the most um, most simple format possible. So maybe I am perfectionist in that degree that I'll try to find the definition of that thing to its core, and then to be able to apply that core in other venues in other areas. So I'll give you an example. So I listen to a track and I'm like, yo, this is a slamming track. I love this bass line. And then I listen to it. I'm like, well, when I listen to the bass line and I compare it to other bass lines that I've heard and that I've known how to make because I've gained the experience from, you know, trying or learning different synths and types of synths or types of waves to create those type of sounds. When I analyze it all together and I'm in the moment and I'm listening to this track, I'm like, okay, I think I know how I can make this for myself. But hearing it in this context around me and then vibing like this is something that I want to reproduce in the other track. But I can't reproduce it if I just look at it on the first, you know, first degree. You have to go inside. You have to figure out what's the spark, what's the core, reduce that whatever that vibe to its most simplest form, and be like, okay, so this is the reason why this makes me feel this way. Take that and then apply it to everything else after. And when you're doing tracks, when you're making beats, when you're figuring out what type of hi-hat you want to use, you realize you're spending less time selecting sounds or choosing what to do, or figuring out what to do in a moment of creation when you know that, oh, it makes me feel this way, and I know that that feeling is genuine because I did the research for it, you know? It's a
And
lot of details, but yeah.
yeah, no, no, no. I mean, I ask that question quite frequently to a lot of producers, and sometimes people say, you know what, if I spend more than 2 days or 3 days on a song, I let it go because I don't want to get too buried in it. And
Yeah.
some I've heard say, and they'll delete it. It'll be bye bye. Some will say I'll work on it, and if it's not feeling it like the right moment, I'll put it in an archive and I'll date it so I know how far back. And sometimes they'll have an archive and they'll go, I have songs from 3, 4 years ago that are there, but I've dated them and I know when I was working on them and I might come back to it, you know, and
Mm.
and so some say don't force the process. That's kind of one of the key words that I've gotten.
Oh yeah.
Don't
Yeah,
force
for
the
sure.
process. Let the process flow and come through. And
Definitely.
that's a huge thing. How long does it take you to finish a production on average?
It depends on the idea. Sometimes ideas can be really simple. Sometimes it could just be if it's like a project that demands a certain specific attention, then yeah, it could take some time. If it's something that I have to compose that falls outside of what I normally compose, but it's for the sake of a project that I'm down to be part of, yeah, I'll have to take my time on it, and that happens. But that's cool. For me, most of the time when I'm creating my own, like my style of music that I like to perform on, and music that I like to DJ with, it doesn't take time because it usually starts with a feeling, and if it starts from a good place, from a good place, I mean, like if it starts from like you feel it in your gut, then if that feeling is still on as you go, the moment that you feel like it shifts, that's when you know that okay, you can press pause or you could just move on to something else. Or sometimes it depends what you feel like doing on that day. Sometimes you want to do a full song during the day and it could take 2, 3, or 4 hours or 5 hours, or you could just do sketches. So you work on a piece, you kind of printed down this idea. Okay, so I can move to another idea. Kind of like how we do sessions sometimes with other artists.
Hmm?
You're there from 2 to 4, and then but you want to get as much ideas as possible so that the artists, may they be like a writer or another producer, have enough resources or assets to be more creative and to be able to complete those tracks and come up with a song and stuff like that. So there's many ways to go about it, and so it depends what you feel like doing on that day. If you want to work on one song, or if you want to work on printing out ideas, pacing your ideas, and then go back to them throughout the week or something like that.
And speaking of sessions and collaborations, you have some current collaborations in the works. Can you tell us about what's going on over there?
Well, there's I mean, I'm fortunate to have worked with really great people, and the collaborations and that I've been getting right now is very in many levels. It's not just on a musical aspect, but it's also on the creating projects, and even on the theater aspect also. I'm actually building a show coming out in December, with a collective, the fragmented collective, fragmentmtl.ca. You can check that out. It's basically a collective of, we're all essentially dancers. Um, that's how we've known each other for years, but we're all prolific in our field, and me's in mostly in music, and the others are dance or scenography or camera work, and so we're building a show that's coming up in December and also in February. We have two presentations, and mine is in December, happening at Osgang in Montreal. So that's gonna be really cool. From December 8th to 11th. So it's all creation, body movement. There's gonna be visuals. There's gonna be sound, and we've been working on this project for the last 2 years now. And throughout the pandemic, that's kind of what, not saying that's what sustained me, but it's one of the many projects that I've been participating in lately. So that's coming up. That's one of the big things coming up. And also, we have a tour coming up in October with Génération VDR. That's Vie de Renard. Uh, Basically, it's Rhymes and Davy Lee, myself, and also Phil from the Ragers, and also have Jay from the Ragers, which is our drummer, um, who'll be going on tour. We have a few dates in Quebec, and we also have an artist from Paris, from France, who'll be joining us on the tour. His name is Yuvdi. Yuvdi is a really tall dude. He's really cool. He came to Montreal in during the summer to perform a few shows in a festival period. Yeah, things have been really popping. So this tour, he's gonna be opening for us since this is our city. We're home. He's opening for us, and then the goal is to do the same thing when he goes back in Paris. Probably set for next year, we'll be doing the same thing. We'll be opening for him in France, and he'll be headlining in his own country, which is really cool. So I'm looking forward to that. It's not the first time that we've kind of crossed bridges like that with the label, with Joyride and other collaborators based across the sea. So I'm happy that this is happening again post pandemic and post everything else too. It's not in the sense of like, oh, I'm glad to be back to work. It's not that at all. Like, I've been busy with many different things, and I'm fortunate. But yeah, it's more about like there's a lot of layers involved into like building shows and making sure that there's a certain level of entertainment happening in a city or happening in an area. So especially when you want to book artists from outside, it was very very complicated. Even for those who had like a certain green light, there's some certain things that were really making the whole system complicated. So in that sense, I feel like I'm happy that this is happening, and everybody is back to work. Everybody.
Yeah. And tell us, will you be bringing the power funk to those events?
Yes, yes.
tell
So
tell our DJ Sessions fans what the power funk is.
power funk. Power funk for me is just my definition of how funk makes me feel, and then how I expose it on the speakers. So, like I said, I started DJing around the same time that I started street dancing. So I was very much involved in street dances like locking, popping, and then I grew into crump and other styles. But I was very much involved in the funk styles. Very much. First started my beats, like my really dope tracks, my heavy beats really started in a period where I was exploring popping very very much. So hence my influence on by I'm very much influenced by the funkadelics and the parliaments, the zaps and Prince and other producers like Beat Slayer Legend or Slick Dog even, or Damn Funk. There's tons other producers also who influence my sound in terms of that vibe. And but for me, yeah, so started DJing, street dancing all together, and my beats were like knocking hard because for me, like the way that the music makes you move or makes you feel is very, very important. So, and I love bass. So when I put the two together, that's what I get. And for me, power funk, that's just it. It's just that combination of all of that. Is the combination of my experience as a street dancer, battling in competitions, winning rounds, losing rounds, DJing for the competitions, and also just sharing, being part of the community and being part of the execution of it all is all synthesized in the power funk. It's all synthesized all together, and other things also is my knowledge of understanding of music and what came before me, my peers and all that, all synthesized into power funk. So when you listen to it, that's why at times it sounds like it comes from yesterday. At time it sounds like it comes from a certain future that we don't know, or it's like a, it has that appeals to me. That's what it is. It's like my G Kundo. That's power funk.
And speaking about your experiences as a DJ, what's the best experience you've ever had behind the DJ booth? Is there one moment that stands out the most to you that you could say, "Ugh, I crushed it," or "I can't believe I collaborated," or "I opened," or "I closed," or best experience?
There's a few, and yeah, I got a few nuggets like that. Um, there's one. Okay, so one was DJing at the W Hotel with Just Blaze and just talking about like Dilla beats. We're just talking about our favorite producers' beats, and I'm out there in the hotel. I'm mixing the like we had a theme and everything, and even the host was like, yo, can you switch up and like switch up to go back to the theme? But I was just like happy to be with Just Blaze and talk about beats and then playing them. I didn't care. I was like, yo, it was so funny because he was booked at Igloo Fest, and I was part of the lineup. So it was myself, Just Blaze, and RL Grime. And then after, I had a DJ set at the W Hotel, and he was staying there, and we like chilled the night. It was funny. It was really cool. And Just Blaze is one of my favorite producers ever. Like, he's one of the greatest producers ever. Um, and then one other time for me was it was during a Red Bull festival, and they had booked a lineup at Le Belmont. It was Lunis, High Class, myself. I think Katro was there, but I'm not sure. But yeah, it was a sick. It was like the lineup of all the heavyweights. All the heavyweights were there. It was jam packed. I forgot which year. It was maybe like 2012 or 13, something like that. It was at the time where like SoundCloud was popping, Hype Machine was popping, and the different types of DJ producer, the to be able to do both of them, or the live DJ, or the live sets, or controllerism. Those are the terms that kind of appeared at that time, and we were all the people flexing our styles at that time in different ways, but that was one of the times that we were all joined all together under one roof. It was one of the craziest nights ever. And that's like it beats. it also beats like the 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 boiler room that I had done, and the Red Bull 3 style battle, because I had done the Red Bull 3 style DJ battle and the boiler room on the same day. They had set it up on the same day. I don't know why. So that was the famous Keitra boiler room. Yeah, I had done a set right before. It was, yeah, Ken Lo, Tommy Cruise, High Class, K, and myself. And so I had done the DJ set early because I had to be at the competition later that same day. But yeah, that was a special day too. But yeah, nothing beats that lineup. It's like it was crazy. It was crazy. I was happy, and it's cool to see your bros. To see your Haitian folks, or your peers, or people that you feel like, hey, I don't feel like alone. I don't feel like I'm the only one, or I feel like it is possible, and it showcased that it's possible for the kid also who sees this to be like, yo, it's possible for me too to make it out here just by being creative and having great ideas and setting up a good plan.
Mhm.
So
Was the biggest crowd you ever played for also your best crowd you ever played for?
not necessarily. I've played in front of 20, 30,000 people type of crowds. And I've done rooms that are only 100 people, 200 or 500 or 1,000 and 2,000. And all those are fun. It really depends on what type of vibe you want to set. Because especially if it's the case where, okay, so if it's the case you're in a venue, and okay, so it's a venue, okay, so let's say it's a venue and not a festival. So it's a venue, regardless of the size. If it's like 15,000 or 1,000 or 100 people, you decide what type of vibe you want to install. It's up to the DJ. If you're there as a DJ or as a live performer, you decide what you want to talk about. You decide what type of energy you want to exchange out there. So if you're not feeling well, you can figure out what. Like if you're not feeling well throughout the week, let's say a few days before you're, I don't know, you broke up with your girlfriend or something like that, or you broke up with your boyfriend, some, and you're not feeling well, but you have to do this, and everything's already signed, and you gotta get it done still. You have to take this playing stills, and well, you can set yourself up. You can set up a DJ set that can help you. That you can set up something that can make it feel like easy instead of trying to aim the best set of your life or the best trying to. You can do that. That's good to do that. It's good to be prepared and prepare yourself for a show. It's important. It's cool. Not that everything needs to be in order, but to be prepared for it is great. But after, there's ways that you can like install, you know, there's ways that you can set up a track, or the way that you do your introduction can be a meditative introduction that can help you. Or if you're happy and you're good in your skin and you're having a great day, then you can set it up in another way. You have more time to be able to give them more of what they're looking for. They're looking for a good time, and then you can. There's many ways you can make a good time for people. Besides just playing. Let's say that let's say you don't make music, and you only play music as a DJ. There's many ways you can like. DJing is somebody who archives, is somebody who digs for music. Well, let's say you don't just dig for music. Let's say you dig for audio memes. Let's say you dig for all the popular audio clips on the platforms. Why not just save them all, and then you use them in your DJ sets? It's like there's so many levels to you can take it. People use movie quotes. There's some others who specialize in video game sounds. That's what I do. I have a whole bunch of a collection of video game sounds that I flipped around, played with, and I use them in my mixes. So it really gives makes people dive into a world. Basically, that's what you want to do when
Hmm.
you're doing sets. Yeah.
And do you prefer DJing and performing at large scale festivals, or would you rather DJ at more intimate kind of club settings?
Uh, really depends on the setting, on the vibe, but I definitely right now I'm more into a big space and and like like loud, nice sounding bass. It doesn't have to be knocking, fucking breaking ears, or I don't want anybody standing like this next to the speaker either. Like I make sure that nobody's just like, oh yeah, I really love this, and the speaker's right there, and it's like a freaking, I don't know, 18-inch like in there like this. Nah, that ain't happening. But I'm down for like a large space and where you can feel like the sound is really like hitting the, like bouncing off the walls type of thing. That's fun. Like either a warehouse type of thing, like rave type of thing. Um, I think yeah, that's cool. Maybe a high ceiling. Maybe that's the equation. Like a room with like pipes and inners and hangar look and high ceiling.
You would love a space in Portland, Oregon. I was just there not too long ago, and it's an amazing space. It's called the North Warehouse,
North
and it
Warehouse.
is just beautiful. When you said high ceilings, that's the first place that came to mind. Was that or that and or the Brooklyn Mirage that comes to mind too? You
Yeah,
know, I
yeah.
mean, that place is just it took my heart away. I was there
I
last year, and
Oh, nice. I
yeah, I
went
saw
to
it.
I had done 1 year I went to Cloaks and Dagger in Denver. I had done that, and that was a cool room too. They had two rooms set up, and
Mm,
yeah, that was fun.
nice. Do you have any crazy dance moves when you get up on stage? Do you perform and do you dance? What do you?
sometimes, sometimes I don't have a signature move, but that would be cool. That would be on some like. I'll definitely feel like some wrestler WWE shit, like, when they have a signature move. That's dope. I'll think about that. But no, I sometimes I dance, but it depends. Um, for me, the smartest way if I'm doing a live performance is to be able to set up a period in the mix where I can go and do it properly, so that I can really go in instead of just going in and then like, oh shit, I can't stay here any longer. The song is gonna finish type thing. No, I really want to set it up so like I play this track or I play this part or whatever. Okay, so this is the part where I can go in the front type thing.
Mhm. And
Or the long piss track.
and what measures? Sorry, what measures do you take to actively promote yourself, your releases, in your career? Social media is solid PR and asset for DJs, producers to have, and do you use that? Do you have that set up in your arsenal to help promote your career?
Yeah. So me, I'm part of a label called Joyride Records, based here in Montreal, and it's basically the team with who I grew, and we kind of built this whole new imprint with Joyride. And yeah, there's a lot of things that I've built throughout the times, even learning with Fool's Gold also. Fool's Gold Records, I had released some projects with them too. And shout out to A-Track. Alain just dropped his new project with Cameron. Go check that out. Um, yeah, so for me, a good balance is to be able to, if you have access or to people who can help you, who will be down to support your project, it's good to inquire. You could gain more information and gain more knowledge about it. There's definitely more data online you can find. Also, there's some people like to do the DistroKid route or to do the Bandcamp route and then use their socials also. But for the PR here in Montreal, we do have, through the label, we do have people who can get the news out on like how do they call it, the daily shows, like the daily morning shows, but like the TV daily morning shows. They have like this special segment. Like lately, they've been very much they figured it out. Somebody's listening. They figured out that yeah, it would be cool if we could get if we can get Becky and Courtney do an interview on this new track by this trapper guy in Montreal, rapping about how to get out of this life, which is cool. Which normally would never happen years ago, but today it's cool. I'm happy that there's progress. In Montreal, by the way, hip hop doesn't really get played that much on the radio. Like it don't get played the same way like New York does, or the same
Hmm.
way that other even Toronto plays more because I get it. It's like it's the French Anglo thing happening. There's a lot of radio stations there. Their agenda, they have a certain agenda, and they want to protect and preserve the French language, but at the same time a lot of these radio stations are playing um, a lot of the commercial American music also, but they're not playing like hip hop when the people, the masses are proof. You know, souls are being sold out, shows are being sold out, the venues are full, the festivals are popping, and the cops are always busy looking for something, but they can't find anything. You know, each time they're trying to ambush because they see that people, you know, the kids are they go out to the festivals, kids come out to the shows, and us we're still involved, we're still doing it, but you know, we don't have MTV. We don't have our MTV anymore.
Hmm.
It got flushed. You know, now it's just playing TV reality stuff like Kim Kardashian stuff like that. So radio here and there. There's certain stations like community stations that will have like a radio show, and that's what we will. Some people would tune into. And besides that, it's not really popping that much. Certain artists will appear on the radio, but it's a very very hard game and it's completely different. So it changes the whole dynamic. It's like we're creativity um like through the arts and creativity, we're there, we're present, we're like we're up to date if you will. But there's certain levels where to get the music out, or it works on the platforms but it doesn't work like on, let's say, on the radio here in Montreal, Quebec. It's very complicated because you know it is what it is. They don't like hip hop like that. It takes
Do
time
you,
for them, you know.
do you think the internet has broken down that barrier though, and makes it accessible that, if somebody went out and
Oh
created an
yeah.
online radio show and just did
Oh
something
yeah.
online and promoted it out there and made, went guerrilla style, underground style, making the bumper stickers, the flyers, getting the artists saying, "Hey, we're Montreal's number one online radio station or music
Yeah.
platform." Was that how they're countering that culture? Is that the counterculture movement? Is that happening?
Yeah. So the radio shows that are present throughout the times, usually it's like the college radios or university radios. They're present. They'll you know, that's where people get their pulse. And there's some other ones also. There's public radios also like CBL and stuff like that. But um, yeah, I mean, there's for the internet for sure. It definitely changes the whole dynamics. It's really through the streams, through the streams, and through the music videos. That's one of the main ways that um, most Quebec artists or most rap Quebec artists will like get their vibes on. You know, get their people tuned in through their videos, music videos. Like sometimes they won't even be like the MP3, you know? They won't even be like the wave track or the wave file out there. It's just gonna be the music video,
Hmm.
and it's very interesting. You know,
You
I
know,
mean, I'm not down with the ripping YouTube 128s. No, I'm not down with the 128 kilobit, but
I've heard
yeah,
horror stories, and I'm sure a couple people have probably played on my show in the past, and I wasn't paying attention and I didn't know. But I hear there's definitely a difference in audio quality when you play it out in the club. If you're not getting that full wave file and downloading that full quality
totally,
version versus the 128 or an iTunes version, if you're trying to cheat the
yeah.
system or something like that. Speaking of downloading music and people having or companies having a monopoly on controlling things, do you expect Beatport to have another serious competitor in the next few years, or do you feel they can maintain a monopoly on the game? Because I mean, that's pretty much the company you go to, Beatport, and then you got TrackSource and a few others, and that's a kind of single track based platform. Do you think they're going to be able to maintain a monopoly, or do you think there's going to be a shift in the industry in the future?
It depends on which. What are we looking at? If we're looking at the consumer level, maybe. But if we're looking at it at the like the business aspect of it, like right now with like Web 3.0 and all that stuff, like the whole game is like completely changing. So, um, yeah, they'll definitely have competitors on that level. You know, on in terms of like when you're that type of business, in that type of business of making platforms where people can ingest, consume content and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But for the consumer, I think I think that maybe. I think there's still like a void for the DJ. There's still a void. There's still like, so you can you could subscribe to like a DJ pool service type of
Mhm.
website. They'll give you access. You pay for a monthly basis. They give you access to tracks that they upload as fast as they can, as in the highest quality that they can. But then you still don't get everything. You don't get every song. You only mostly get the club songs, which is cool. So if you're a club DJ, then yeah, it works. For me, there's one DJ pool that I like more than the others because the selection presents stuff that I feel like is like the music that gets played in. It's like the underground music, but like the festival underground music. You know, it's DJ Benzi who runs it. It's called DJ Live Service, and so I had paid like a lifetime subscription type of thing, and I basically have access to like music since 2012, like a great collection of club, but also like underground stuff that are like coming up or that are gonna blow up, or the current stuff also. But I feel like it's higher quality than, let's say, no shade to the other ones, but like I feel like I've tried some other ones, and I feel like sometimes the quality, it can kind of get bypasses the gates of the final gates, I guess. Um, I feel like sometimes I'm still have to, still have to get tracks in other means, and it sucks. It sucks to, for me, it's especially locally, it sucks that I can't have like a mailing list. It's cool that some I have access to certain mailing lists, like Fool's Gold. I have a mailing list, DJ mailing list. They send stuff regularly. There's other ones also that there's a Fat Drop, but I think they changed their name to an. There's another one too. Anyway, there's a few that I have access, and they send me new projects that come out, and I can just review and download right away, MP3 or Wave, and I think that's the best way, especially if you're a DJ and you're a performer. Um, but after, like, there's certain tracks, it's like, do I have to rip this? This is, or even if you ask, like, there's no other way, unless like it's available in another, like, you know uh, uh, subscription platform, and they're available, but how many subscriptions can we have in a how many can we afford? It's like, okay, I'm already paying for this one, I'm already paying for that one, and it's like it's sort of chic. I'm like kind of stuck here, especially if I want to play music from the homies. That's either I write them and they send me, or sometimes they don't even have it. They don't even have access to it. I'm like, how can you don't have access to your own your own bounces? But
Yeah.
sometimes I'm in a club and somebody asks me for this song, and I know it's a good song and I don't have it. Then I'll hotspot and I'll just hop on to like an app, and then just like download the track right away and then play it. But if there's something where it works out, where I don't know, if I feel like there's one platform that can give me everything that I need in terms of music, and then I can pay one time, or pay like one amount per month and everything, like a Beat Source or something like that, then sure, I wouldn't mind, because I want to stray away from having to go on weird websites to or download you know
Hmm. And is there something you'd like to say to new and up and coming producers to watch out for when it comes to making their career successful?
um I'd say watch out for watch out for your ego. Watch out for like keeping the ego in check. Like understanding when you feel like you're about to say something or do something to like pop off, ask yourself why. and then trying to see ways that you can still get the same type of results without having to pop off, like without having to like, because when it starts little, and then as it grows, you realize you've become this asshole, and it's too late. You didn't realize that you've gone through so many layers of it. You're down the iceberg. You're down deep, deep, deep down. So, and it's harder to get out of it, and it's harder to get to understand the nuances and stuff. So if are starting DJ, you know when they say like regardless of the gear that you use or you start with, it doesn't matter as long as you understand the idea of what it is to be a DJ. Start there. You want to become a better DJ? Yes, touch other mediums, other formats, turntables, records, CDJs, or other softwares or other like controllers and stuff like that. Do that. You want to become a bit better DJ? Do that. Um, when you're getting booked for shows and you're opening, obviously don't burn out the dance floor by trying to play the hottest or the hypest tracks, or don't play as if you're the headliner, and especially don't play any music from the headliner also. And yeah, that's a true thing. Like,
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
that's a true thing. Like, don't play, even if it's a remix. Don't even play a remix or anything that, you know, not even. Don't do it. They recognize, they hear it, and then they don't like it. It happened. I remember one time I was DJing. We were closing a Sean Paul show at Rouen-Noranda in Quebec, in the province of Quebec, like last month, and and I know there was a DJ who was playing before us earlier that day, and then the show goes well. We do our set and everything's nice. It closed it well, and then we're walking outside, and then we cross across path with Sean Paul's band. They were chilling outside of the hotel, and then and my homies were like, "Oh, we do you wanted to go eat?" And I'm like, "Hey, you guys, I'm gonna catch up with you guys. I just want to talk with the band real quick," and just had a quick chat with them. It's like, "Oh, talk with them," and then one of the guys, he says like, "So, oh, you were the DJ. You were the DJ who playing before us?" I'm like, no, I was playing after you guys. Like, oh, okay, yeah, you're good. Yeah, the other DJ, he was playing our tracks, man. The fucking DJ, he was playing. I was like, oh shit. And then I always remember, like all my like people who are inclined into that, booking friends who book shows, who do shows. They always remind me, like they always tell me, like, or they tell me stories of other DJs, like, don't you know you're not supposed to play the headliners like tracks and stuff like that? But it's a true thing. Like they remember, So that was funny coming from like the band member. They were all chilling. It was like, yeah, the fucking DJ, he was playing our tracks earlier. It's like, oh fuck. I'm like, oh no.
I had an incident a couple of weeks ago. There was an opening DJ, and she played a track. I was told this. I wasn't there for the closing for the headliner, but she played a track. It wasn't one of the DJ's tracks. But since the headliner shows up at the club at 11:30 to go on at midnight, they didn't know, and he ended up playing one of the tracks she played in her set, but it
Yeah,
wasn't one of his tracks. So what does
yeah.
that mean? What happens in that circumstance? Is it
So
the headliner's fault, or is it the opener's fault? Because the opener didn't. How would you know? Because you don't know what they're going to play for the night, but it wasn't one
exactly.
of his tracks, or not
Okay,
one of his
so
signature tracks, or nothing like that. It was a random track she had picked to play. What about in that incident? Who's at fault?
right. So it's a random track,
Mhm.
sure. But the chances for it to be a track that both play, it would have to be a hot track. So if it's a hot track, and you know it's a hot track, um, and you know that there's possibilities that you're not going to be able to see the opening acts set, and you know the lineup is, let's say, a certain theme. Let's say that track in question is a house track, and the theme is house. There might be chances that they played. So are you gonna just play it loud and loud and proud, as if it's like the lead track, or you're gonna slide it as if it's just like a quick jab
Mm-hmm.
within all the other tracks
Mm-hmm.
to make it different setting than whoever else would play this track. I'll make sure that they don't play it the same way that I played it. Because if I'm gonna play a certain track and I know that there's a chance that somebody else might play because it's a hot track at the moment, or. But if it's just a random, really random track, let's say that it's a random track, you're closing your set, you're in a house set, but you close with like Genuine Pony just to throw people off. And another person does the same thing. Well, that's just
Yeah.
spur of the moment, just magic. That's just random. It's nobody should be at fault of that, and nobody should like throw shade at that. But if the setting has to do, if that track in question has to do with the theme of the night, and it's a hot track, and you both know it's a hot track, then you have to find ways to be able to drop each track in a creative way. A good DJ is to be able to like play all the same tracks. A good DJ should be able to play the you give a DJ 3 tracks and ask him to mix them 3 times, and should be able to play them each time differently. Each time it should be different each time. Like
Right.
it shouldn't feel the same way. There's so many ways of mixing, introducing tracks, and playing sections, playing a snippet of a loop, but taking another part and bringing it into another section, stuff like that. There's so many things that you can do to be unique and have your own style.
Absolutely. I like that. I was wondering if there was a way that they could kind of like barcode each track in the future, like a device in the future. They make some number or NFT version of each track, and then when it's in a player, you could put a tab on it and say, "Don't duplicate tracks for a 4 hour period or a 6 hour period, or something in there." So if somebody did put the same track in, it goes, "This track was already played earlier." It would block it out, kind of like an advance, like it would just read the tracks and it would be in a playlist and be like, you can't play this track because this
So
specific track, like if it was 001 was the track number. I mean, like in the back end, you know what I'm saying? Like a barcode or a UPC code or something that would track the song that wouldn't let it be played again for a 4 hour period once it was played on the decks.
yeah,
Prevent
I
that
mean,
from
I
happening.
yeah, I'd see something like I'd see something more like though that would be a crazy idea. I see something
Okay, I
more
just
like
gave everyone a multi-million-dollar idea. I gotta go
yeah,
patent that right now.
I see something like a continuous Shazam that just like
Yes.
listens, and then it just
Yep.
like database, and then prints out like a list that the
Yeah.
person can have access to that list and be like, oh, okay, I see what played. Oh, he played. Oh, okay. And then they can manage. But yeah, if you get a chance to see other people's set and you're booked for a lineup, then go check it out. And especially if you're starting, fuck yeah, go check it out, because you want to be able to also meet people. You want to be able to develop the skill of being present in a situation where there's other people who either does the same thing as you, or who like the same things as you.
What is your take on the buzzword? What are your thoughts? We're gonna be wrapping this up here. I want to get a couple more questions in, but what is your take when I say metaverse?
um I mean, for me, I see it as an opportunity. I see it as it's an opportunity. I see it as a yeah, it's a new thing that can present us different ways to present different ideas. So like from it's like in the same idea of you're a DJ, you're DJing somewhere, okay. You're DJing, let's say you're DJing in a room, and then you decide, okay, well, next time I'm gonna DJ, I'm gonna add a light. Okay, well, after that, next time I DJ, I'm gonna add like a disco ball. Well, next time I DJ, I'm gonna add a projector. Okay, well, next time we DJ, we're gonna add performers. Okay, so next time, so it's just different formats of exercising an art or a discipline. But then, so if you come with the idea of like, okay, so the idea of making an event uh, to a whole is art, discipline, and entertainment, right? So you could take all that and say like, okay, well, instead of being IRL, I want it to be online, or I want it to be in another format. I want people to have this experience in a different through a different format. And for me, that's cool. I think the metaverse present for me. That's how I look at metaverse. It presents to me like a different type of platform, different way of expressing the same things that we love still today. You know, it's not like trying to reinvent the wheel, though it is presenting some new protocols and different layers that are completely different than what we have right now. But you know, a game is still a game. Entertainment is still going to be entertainment. Music is still going to be music, regardless of how it's going to be consumed or how it's presented. It's not, there's one way is not going to try to replace the other. You know, CDs are still around, even though they're not the main thing. Tapes are still around, even though they're not necessarily the main thing. And here and there, you'd hear about little spikes. You know, records. You hear little spikes of records coming in and out, depending on the vibes. But the medium is the medium. Like the moment that okay, so here's the thing with metaverse. The moment that people start having some kind of social and cultural um, foundation that can only, let's say, exist through the metaverse, then that's when things are going to start to grow and stay and keep on existing. And that's how things are going to evolve properly. Because if it doesn't have a social or cultural foundation, then it has no reason to exist. Because we're moving we're a being at core that moves and involves. Anything that has to do with us has to move and involve with us also. You get what I'm saying? So when you think about street dancing, only the street dances that have a social or cultural foundation stay. All the other dance styles or moves that were done, let's say, with people only high on drugs or only when they're tripping out, those are just trends. They don't stay for long, you know, because there's no social foundation. There's no reason why the kid wants to get up and do it, you know?
Absolutely, totally understandable. The reason I bring that up is we're getting ready to grand open our two virtual nightclubs in Alt Space, and we're
Yo, I'm
super
looking
excited
forward to
for
that.
this because the possibility of doing something we look at it as is kind of like what websites were in 1995, the .com era, what social media became, what podcasting became, what live streaming has become. It's another branding opportunity to be doing something in a different world that is not a 2D. We have our 3D in-person environment. We have a 2D world where we consume a lot of media, and now we're going to get into this 3D environment that it doesn't. A friend of mine reminded me the other day at one of our clubs, we have pylons, and so it looks like it's holding up the second floor. And he says, "Why are these pylons here in your nightclub? There's no gravity in virtual reality." It reminded me of that scene in The Matrix when Neo and Morpheus are fighting in the dojo. And he's like, "You think that's air you're breathing?" And I'm like, "You're right. I don't need it." So our first version, as we said, when we looked at it, it's like I wanted to go with the four walls, roof, and ceiling to accommodate that first round user that, oh, okay, I walk down the hallway, I go to this room. Our
Right.
version one, our version two, our version three will be for more advanced users that are like, okay, I know I can fly around to get to this part and hang out in
Mm.
this room and have this experience with other people that understand how to get in here. Once the world has adjusted to working in a virtual environment. So we got
Yeah.
this like 5-10 year rollout program to building it up, as an understanding with the industry. We're going to grow with that and change that into the using and introducing Web3 technologies into that as well. Just
Hmm.
future proofing everything. So there's really cool stuff going on there. But we got to let you go because I know you got this exclusive mix you're going to be making for us right after the show. Super excited for that. Shash'U. Is there anything else you
Yes,
want to let
yes.
our DJ Sessions fans know about before we let you go?
I'm just noticing right now. There's a few questions on the side. I didn't.
Don't those.
Oh my
I,
god.
if I decide to bring some of those in, I can bring some of those in. But I forgot to tell you about that was going to happen once
Yeah, yeah.
once
So many cool questions.
I was putting out a bunch of promo while we're doing the show, and it clicked, and our viewers came
Yeah,
in.
yeah.
So
There was somebody was asking if there was an age to stop DJing. I'm like, wow, there's no
that's
age to stop DJing. It's really okay. So most of the DJs that I know who stopped DJing is either because they didn't have any space to for the gear anymore, or didn't have any time for it anymore. So if you have time for it and you have the space for it, then you most probably can definitely keep on doing it.
well, a
For
question that
forever.
I sometimes ask, and I'm not sure. Well, you were born in '83, so
Yeah,
you're about what 40?
38, 30,
38, 38, 38.
yeah,
I should have got
turning
that right.
39. Yeah,
Well, Carl Cox's birthday just happened a few months ago, and he
right.
just turned
I saw him
60 years.
live.
Yeah, he just turned 60 years old, and he's still rocking it. And I asked DJs a lot of times, do you see yourself still rocking it at 60 years old and doing festivals, events, and being on the circuit? And the one question that comes back a lot of times is that family is a big one. That people say, I don't want to be on tour 6 months, hotel, hotel, flight, 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 and miss my kids growing up.
Mm,
And
right.
that's one that I hear is that so now they kind of dial back, but then they kind of tone back their career to go, I want to pick and choose what I want to play rather than be on that whole 6 month go 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 flight 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 hotel hotel 1 hour sleep a night, let's go rinse wash
Yeah.
repeat over and over again. And in their youth, yeah, but when you start living that family life and you're like, what do you now pick and
Yeah,
choose. You might do
exactly.
12 or 15 events a year and somebody flies you out. It doesn't mean you're out of the game. You're still rocking it. You're just not in that mindset because you're kind of already established. You're probably already
Mm-hmm.
producing and you're probably already knowing how to get your music into submit it to get it into Netflix shows, HBO, or get those sync licenses and things into place. And or you might have a day job too that's on the side when you're at home, and that day job lets you go out, fly out of town for a weekend and fly in on a Saturday and fly back home on a Sunday, and
Right.
you still get to bounce in,
Right.
bounce out, but you're not on that circuit. But anyways, I want to say thank you so much for coming on the show today. I want to give a shout out to Unknown GRP. They've been active in your chat room over there, watching the whole show the whole time. Thank you very much for watching. But where's the best place people can find out more information about you and what you got going on?
Yeah, I'm pretty much on Instagram. I am Shash'U. That's
Oh,
IMSHASHU, and you could check that out
I didn't
on
get that
there.
one. Hang on. I am SASHU.
No, SHA
Oh, SHA.
SH. Yeah, SHASHU.
Why did I put I am in there? I don't know.
Yeah, 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 yeah. That's it. I am
Oh,
Shash'U.
yeah,
Yeah,
SHASHU. Okay,
I am Shash'U. Yeah.
hang on. I'm gonna get this queued up for us. Nope,
Um.
I know what I did. Boom, 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 boom. There we go.
Nice.
And find him on Instagram. Follow you on all your other socials. You do got your websites out there. You got some tour dates and stuff coming up, I believe, and
Yeah.
collabs, releases, tons of stuff coming out. I am Sashu at Instagram. Pleasure having you on the show. We will follow up with you as we promised with every
Yes.
artist that comes to the show. Stay in touch with you for in perpetuity. Every 6 months, we like to stay in touch with everyone to know what's going on, what's coming up, and hopefully meet you in person soon and do an on site interview. Are you going to ADE this year by any chance?
No, I am not. I have a few things happening here, projects here that are keeping me busy. But yeah, I've been. I was fortunate enough to go to New Orleans and to Houston this year during summer for some gigs with Red Bull and dance events. So that was cool. Next year might have some stuff in South America, so we'll see how that goes.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you so much for coming on the show today, Shash'U. It's a pleasure having you, and again, we'll be following up and keeping our eyes on your career, what you got going on.
Yes,
All right.
yes, yes. Thanks.
You're
Peace.
welcome. On that note, don't forget to go to our website, thedjsessions.com. Find us on Meta, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram. We're out there. You can even find us on Roku, Amazon Fire, Google Play, and soon to be Apple TV, and in virtual reality in alt space. And download our mobile app. But all that information, 600 plus news stories a month, live interviews, exclusive mixes, especially like the one we're going to have from Sashu coming up here soon on thedjsessions.com. I'm your host, Darren, coming to you live from the virtual studios in Seattle, Washington. And that's Sashu coming in from Montreal, Canada for the virtual sessions. And you know what happens on the DJ sessions? The music never stops.